welcome back to Beyond the Veil Tarot and Astrology. My name is Candace Murray. Thanks for joining me. I'll be your astrologer this week. This is going to be the astro weather for the week of May 25th through June the 1st, 2025. And we're going to be talking all about what's going on with the transits this week, putting a special emphasis on the Mercury Cazimi in the sign of Gemini. If you guys like my content, you want to see more of it, make sure you subscribe to the channel. Click the bell button below if you want to be alerted as to when I have new videos. I'm here every Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, and Sunday using tarot and astrology to make sense of what's going on in the cosmos. Well, I'm excited because I feel like we have got quite a positive, uplifting week. This is a great astro weather. I hope you guys are here for it. Just a few notes right off the top of the video. I do have my June horoscopes that are live. Over 3 hours, 12 hours, can you imagine? Over 3 hours of content on the 12 rising signs to let you guys know what's happening in June and what to kind of prepare for, all the major transits, as well as the new and the full moon. So make sure you guys check that out. I'll also be here this Friday at 6 o'clock p.m. Central Time, 4 p.m. Pacific, 7 p.m. Eastern, doing live tarot readings. So if you guys want to get a reading, definitely come hang out with me on Friday night. We're going to be serving up some cards, and it's such a great week for insights with this Mercury Cazimi, so you don't want to miss that. Make sure you check the community tab on Friday morning for the link if you guys want to get in the queue and get a reading. Follow me on X. I'm pretty active on X. If you guys are not already following me, you can find me at VTV Astro. I'm actually working on content and things that I'm going to be putting on X and not on YouTube. So definitely pays to follow if you guys want to see some of that insight and some of those reports that might be a little bit more sensitive in its nature. So make sure you guys follow me. And we've got a new moon this week. So if you guys haven't seen my new moon in Gemini video, definitely check it out. This is one of the better new moons all year long, and I'm loving some of the aspects between Mercury as well as Jupiter and Pluto in Aquarius. It is perfect for change, transformation, and opening the lines of communication. Now, you guys are going to be feeling that this week. Obviously, we're going to have that new moon. And all week long, I feel like the energy is very intellectual. It's buzzing. There's going to be opportunities for better communication and major breakthroughs. I'm also kind of predicting some creative sparks as well. And it's all leading up to this very powerful Mercury Cazimi, which will be taking place on the 29th of May. Now, the Gemini New Moon is offering a fresh kind of perspective. It's very communicative in its tone. And we're going to see the week kind of transition from the beginning of the week on Sunday, where we've got the moon in Taurus, which is very grounded, but we're also getting quiet. We're preparing for that new moon as we start the week off in a dark moon phase. We'll also see the moon move out of Gemini and into Cancer this week. So there's going to be a little bit more of like an emotional tone, focus on home and family stuff, things that are going on with emotional healing. And we're going to wrap up the week with the moon going through Leo. Loving some of the transits that we are going to see over the weekend, definitely giving us the opportunity to have some fun in the sun. And right at the end of the week, we're going to see late on Sunday night, the moon move into Virgo, helping us prepare for a very busy next Monday. This is also going to be inviting us to, I think, release outdated mental patterns, have better clarity as we're starting next week. So make sure you guys check that video out next Sunday. Obviously, I have a focus every week, and this time we're going to be looking at the Mercury Cazimi, which will be taking place at 9 degrees of Gemini. So this particular transit happens a couple times a year, but this time it's going to be happening in Mercury's home sign. So I think it's going to perform very well. So if you happen to have any personal planets between 8 and 10 degrees of Gemini, sun, moon, rising, or personal planet or a node, this is going to be more impactful for you. So make sure you guys check out your chart. I would say this is going to be positively impacting my Virgo risings as well, as you guys are ruled by Mercury, and Leo risings because you guys are ruled by the sun. Now, as a general rule of thumb, Cazimis are pretty positive. There is some kind of message that's being relayed to us. So you guys are going to want to work specifically with the day that it's going to be happening. That's going to be the day that's going to be kind of top tier for communication and insights as well as learning. Now, the Mercury Cazimi happens when we see Mercury form the superior position with the sun. So it has to be within about 17 minutes of the sun. So it's going to be right ahead of the sun in Gemini. And this means that it's sitting in the heart of the sun. So this will supercharge, obviously, Mercury's qualities. So communication, intellect, as well as being more adaptable is all going to be highlighted. And I think this is going to bring like razor sharp, opportunities for clarity. Cazimis always manifest as some type of like epiphany or download, something that's lost that's been found, or perhaps we have a breakthrough and a turning point in communication, travel, or contracts. So being that Mercury is at home in this sign, I feel like this is especially potent. It's really going to be amplifying quick thinking as well as networking and being a little bit more versatile when it comes to our expression. At 9 degrees, if you guys follow degree astrology, this is going to have a Sagittarius influence. So this is going to blend curiosity with kind of a big picture vision. Likely we're going to be hearing lots of news, because Mercury is news and media, pertaining to legal matters, college campuses, professors, as well as anything connected to airplanes and airlines. Mercury could be everything from the people who work for these companies or for some of these institutions. It could also mean that there is some kind of change going on with transportation or documents, or some news drop that's going to be connected to these things. Now, I like to use the Sabian symbols. So we're going to be reading the Sabian symbol for 10 degrees of Gemini, because we're going to be rounding up since the Cazimi will be at 9 degrees and change. And the Sabian symbol for Gemini 10 is an airplane falling. The keyword is crisis. So the theme is a free fall. The symbol speaks to diving into experiences without hesitation or any thought of failure, with an attitude that whatever difficulties or problems encountered can be successfully resolved when and if they arise. The image of an airplane falling is another one of the reverse symbols, but it illustrates the concept of unclutch and let go. What can't be comprehended from one point of view can be understood from another. On a practical level, the symbol suggests relaxing, going with the flow, and being willing to take a risk or take a chance. It also alludes to the fact that over-control and fear can limit opportunity. At its highest, it represents learning through doing and an intuitive knack for handling crisis competently. Watch for helplessness, lack of self-direction, and a defeatist attitude or refusal to get involved in anything that requires work or risk. The accent is on impulsiveness or diving into experiences without thinking. You have to take corrective action to deal with some unexpected crisis. Your greatest advantage lies in keeping your head and concentrating on the task at hand. Go with the flow and stay calm. Guard against panic. Avoid temptation to bail out or quit or defeat before the situation has a chance to right itself. Stepping stones is crisis, decline, downfall, collapse, decrease, descent, plunge, breakdown, collapse, defeat, failure, or drop. Interesting stuff. Obviously, we know the Sabian symbols can be more figurative, but sometimes they are literal. So I'll be watching the skies, seeing what's kind of going on with air travel or anything kind of connected to that. Could also be some kind of insight pertaining to recent kind of airline issues or things that have been going on with quality control. Obviously, Mercury can kind of deal with like parts and things like that. Could also be more talking heads and things pertaining to impending issues revolving around transportation, media, communication, speech, everything like that. And I think about it being kind of connected to, that 9. So it does deal with Sagittarius, and we've got Jupiter, which is traditionally associated with Sagittarius, in the same sign. Now, it's not conjunct. It's pretty far away. We're actually seeing Jupiter kind of wrap up his tour here. But something about this makes me feel like it's about how people are reacting to news that's coming out, how people are responding. Now, Mercury is also associated with the South Node, and the South Node in Virgo is dealing with job numbers, productivity, health. It can also be dealing with unemployment information, anything connected to health as well as systems. So we could be hearing some pretty jaw-dropping news pertaining to some of these things right around the time of the Cazimi. But I think that the Sabian symbol, in a nutshell, it's really suggesting that there is a need to take a chance, take a risk, to be maybe more bold or daring when it comes to communication or ideas, but it is warning against being reckless with your words or what you're saying or what you're doing. And it's really about kind of navigating some of the things that come up during the Cazimi with balance. So we might see something come up, but we're able to kind of pivot, think on our feet, and come up with a solution. Now, why is this powerful? Well, I think first of all, a Cazimi in general is supposed to be this kind of like aha moment where there is information revealed, or we kind of have some insight onto something that we didn't know. Maybe something that was missing is found, the missing piece perhaps. And in Gemini, it's going to make it a powerhouse for wit. So whether you're trying to communicate, maybe you're trying to innovate on a project or something that you're writing or something that you're learning, I think that this is going to be a really great transit. And the rulership connection, I think, to the South Node in Virgo was really tying this also to releasing perfectionism, overthinking maybe. And it's really allowing us to kind of embrace more of the Gemini qualities, which is going to be curious and obviously energy for a fresh perspective. So rather than stalling, waiting for the perfect time to do something, that Cazimi might be like, you know what, just let's get it going now. Let's have the conversation now. Let's try to kind of like navigate this and maneuver in a way where we're thinking on our feet. Now, to best work with the Cazimi, I would say you can set intentions, and it can be intentions revolving around what new things you're wanting to do. Obviously, this is going to happen after the new moon in Gemini, so this could be really beneficial for a lot of people who want to act on some of the new moon intentions, depending on which house Gemini falls in your chart. I would do this through like maybe journaling or brainstorming some new ideas. I'm born with Mercury Cazimi in my chart, so I feel like I'm always creating notes, like audio notes, voice notes. Whenever I have like a hunch about something, or I'm researching something, or I have a bright idea, I write it down. And so maybe keeping something kind of nearby where you guys can take notes about what's kind of coming up for you during this transit can be beneficial. I also love this transit for communicating in a very bold fashion. Obviously, the conjunction to the sun is going to represent confidence and action and kind of being like the main character in the conversations you're having with other people. So this is a wonderful time to maybe be pitching projects, or maybe initiating some kind of negotiation, giving you the opportunity to kind of shine and have something to say, and also resolve conflicts. So definitely communicate this week. It's a great communication week just after the new moon as we see the Cazimi setting up. But this is also wonderful for education, learning, as well as networking. So if you've been meaning to kind of dive into an area of study, or maybe you're wanting to connect with other people, plan some travel even, this is a good time to initiate those things. Just make sure you avoid feeling kind of overloaded. As we're coming into the dark moon the next 2 days before we have the new moon in Gemini, Mercury is still combust with the sun before we come into the Cazimi. So we can be feeling a little mentally frazzled, and we might not feel like it's the right moment to initiate something until the Cazimi happens. So I would say early in the week, we want to prioritize to prevent any kind of mental scatter, double check things, make sure that you're, cross-referencing other information if you need to, spell checking stuff, and not just kind of shooting emails and texts off without reading them through. And obviously, with any connection with Mercury this year, we have to focus on the South Node. So there is going to be an emphasis on letting go of this kind of Virgo overanalysis tied to the South Node. Where we're overly critical, overly organized. We don't feel like it's like the right time. And we want to lean more into the Gemini kind of flying by the seat of our pants, like let's just start something type of vibe. So hopefully that's helpful for you guys in navigating the Cazimi. You'll have to let me know how it manifests for you. Definitely leave me a comment, come back to this video, and let me know what the Mercury Cazimi moment was, what aha moment you had, or what popped up. And if you guys stay tuned to the end of the video, I'm going to take you through the 12 rising signs, and I'm going to show you where the Cazimi is taking place in your chart, giving you guys some tips and predictions on how to navigate that transit. So we're going to go ahead and jump into the week ahead. We're going to be starting off with today, Sunday, May the 25th. Happy Sunday to my Sunday crew. How are you guys doing? I hope you guys are well. I know we've had a number of kind of like wild and crazy, Sundays in the last several weeks. So that is still hanging around this Sunday. But good news, next Sunday, as we're getting into the end of the week, things are glorious. We're going to have a beautiful weekend. So hang in there, get quiet, get cozy. We're in a dark moon phase. We wake up this morning and the moon is continuing to go through the sign of Taurus. So this is grounded, practical, stable. We're more focused on food, money, resources, pleasure, security. This is going to be kind of hosted by Venus and Aries, which obviously is a little bit more feisty and fresh. And Venus is starting to kind of nuzzle up next to Chiron. So we can be feeling a little bit more emotionally sensitive on this day. I have found that when we're in dark moon phase, we're also a little crabby. So there is like a tendency to kind of want to be left alone, or we're feeling like we're just kind of preparing for that new moon in Gemini to come in. Now today, as the moon goes through Taurus, it's going to come into a square with Mars in Leo. Right before we see it come out of the square, we're also going to see Mercury start to separate from Uranus. So there's been quite a few kind of like startling, oh my God, moments in communication, maybe the last couple days, Friday, Saturday, and even this morning, we're still feeling like a little overly caffeinated, maybe. We're kind of feeling zapped. So that's still kind of hanging out in the air as well. And Mercury is going to be entering into Gemini today. So that's going to be, I think, well welcome, definitely better for communication. So if we're kind of following through with the transits, it looks like the moon is going to come in for a square with Uranus around the early evening, right here at 17. Wow, that could kind of spark up some drama, 17 through Leo degrees. So I am watching for news and things that are coming out Sunday, maybe some volatility in the crypto markets, maybe some news that might be significant pertaining to market open on Monday. Markets are Leo, money, bonds, resources, banking is all Taurus. Lots of talk. I've been talking about the bond market for the last couple of weeks. There's been a lot of talk about what's going on with bonds. So if you guys are somebody who's financially aware of what's happening, this is definitely kind of tracking with Uranus being in the late degrees of Taurus. Now, after we see that moon square Mars, where, things are going to feel a little restless. These are fixed squares, so we might also feel like there's some stubbornness that's kind of coming up, sparks of tension and sudden insights with Mercury conjunct Uranus. It's going to kind of die down a little bit when the moon starts coming out of the square with Mars. And you're going to see Sunday night, this is when Mercury goes into Gemini. All right. So Mercury is within 5 degrees of the sun. So up until we get into the Cazimi, it's combust. So especially if you're like Mercury ruled, so if you're a Gemini or a Virgo rising, or if you have any planets right around there, this is going to feel like you're overloaded with communication, information, and news. This is going to be a wild news week. Primarily because there's going to be quite a few planets that the moon has to hit before we come into the new moon in Gemini. It's going to hit Uranus, it's going to hit Mercury, and then it's going to hit the sun. So that's going to reference kind of pushing something out into the media, pushing something out onto the internet, into conversations, lots of headlines about things pertaining to Gemini things, and then we'll have the new moon. Anyway, so I think the dark moon feels a little introspective on Sunday. I also think that this is possibly going to be stirring up some unpredictability with the moon kind of coming into that conjunction with Uranus as Mercury is separating. But still, you got to take the wins when you can. Mercury in Gemini is going to be a nice change of pace. And as you guys can see on Sunday night, right when Mercury comes into Gemini, now it's going to be dancing with a sextile to Saturn. So it's going to be more stable. It's going to be more about commitment. It's also in the sign of Aries. So it's going to be your boundaries, maybe even your beliefs, anything pertaining to your needs, right? Your goals. And it's also going to come into a sextile with Neptune in Aries as well. So it's kind of blending that practicality with intuition. And Mercury can be about reading, writing. It can be also about doing any kind of divination, any kind of planning. So it is saying, be clear about what your goals are, get everything in order. And if you can do that, then you can start the process of getting ready to kind of initiate new conversations and communication. I think on Sunday, this is just about grounding yourself with a routine, right? Because the moon's going to be in Taurus all day. We do see that Venus, the dispositor, is behind the moon. So we're going to be feeling like, well, maybe it's a self-care day, or maybe I need some quiet time to reflect, or I'm working on healing something, or I'm taking some, time to do some like spiritual stuff. And that can be physical, that could be art, that could be just some time alone. So definitely use Sunday, even into Monday morning, as more of an introspective time. Have a routine, maybe do some meditation. It can also be good for getting out in nature. Taurus is an earth sign, and this is going to help us manage, I think, some of the impulsive urges that are going to be kind of coming up, because that square to Mars in Leo makes us want to go out, wants us to play, be bold, kind of be active. And I think we're going to be feeling the need to kind of turn within rather than kind of do some reckless kind of crazy things on Sunday. So this is going to take us into the 26th, which is going to be Monday morning. And when we wake up, the moon is still in Taurus. Now it's coming into conjunction with Uranus. So take it easy on the energy drinks and stuff that you guys are consuming on Monday. We can feel a little overly kind of zapped and I think just mentally frazzled Monday morning. And when the moon comes into conjunction with Uranus early, I kind of get the vibe that this is going to be something that's going to be shocking and surprising. Uranus is like sticking your finger in a light socket, And in this particular sign, it's going to be about revolutionary, new, futuristic things, sudden jolts, rises and jolts and backs and forths when it comes to Taurus-related stuff. So we're going to probably be hearing about some pretty significant fluctuations and changes going on financially. I think the moon represents collectively how we're responding to things. So with all of this being ruled by Venus, which is debilitated in Aries, there's a lot of people going like, well, I don't like this. I don't want this. I want more of that. And we're going to be seeing just a lot of emotional instability that can kind of come up on Monday morning. Now, we are going to see that continuation of Mercury sextile Saturn and Neptune. Great for a communication day Monday morning. I think that's the positive side of this. And we're also going to be seeing the moon segue into Gemini. So as we watch what is going to happen, the play-by-play will be the moon's conjuncting Uranus first thing in the morning. And then we're going to see the moon enter into Gemini. It looks like that's going to be happening right around midday, early afternoon. And once that moon shifts, we're no longer looking at Venus. Now we're looking at Mercury. Well, what's going to happen here? The moon's going to conjunct Mercury right off the bat. On one hand, having the moon conjunct its dispositor is great. We're going to be able to kind of connect intellect, Mercury, with our emotions, communicate, kind of get things out. Great for emotional clearing, great for writing out a list of things we want to release, especially because it's still the dark moon. So make a list of things you want to, kind of mentally discard. Maybe this is a time also where you're writing out your intentions. Very powerful with the sextile to Saturn and Neptune. Definitely take a little me time if you can Monday afternoon to kind of get grounded and get centered. We are also going to see as the moon moves through Gemini, it's going to form a trine to Pluto. So this is what I mean when I say the moon's got to hit quite a few planets before it gets into the new moon. So the Mercury moon conjunction is going to be right around mid-afternoon, and then the moon is going to come into a trine with Pluto, making, I would say, mid-afternoon into the evening, even in spite of it being a dark moon, great for anything revolving around Gemini things. Planning trips, writing up contracts, reading, learning, short distance trips. And that trine to Pluto is about making major changes when it comes to our networks, our social life, our friends, our goals. Such a beautiful time, I think, both with the new moon in Gemini, but also when we have the Cazimi. For those of you guys who are like, hey, I want to start a new newsletter. I want to start a YouTube channel. I want to start blogging. I want to maybe redo my website, or I'm wanting to kind of network with new people or join a new app. This is the week that you guys are going to want to do this, because you've got Mercury on your side and you've also got aspects to Pluto, which can really help you connect to other people in a very powerful, profound way. So the vibe that I'm getting for Monday is, even though we see some combustion between Mercury and the moon, that new moon that's kind of coming through, which is going to be at a 6, is saying we're getting organized, because this is a Virgo degree. We're getting organized. We're focusing on health, productivity, perfecting things, making things clearer, being a little bit more optimistic when it comes to new work that we could be bringing in, new lifestyle things. Pretty decent. So the new moon will actually be in the evening. So depending on where you are, I know we have people all over the world. My feeling on this is that this is a very curious and very transformative day. You might feel like the day starts off a little slow, and then as you're getting into the afternoon, the communication is going to kind of build and it's going to get better. You guys can set your intentions on, Monday evening, or you can wait until we're getting into the Cazimi, which obviously is going to be closer to the 29th. So, even though the moon will leave Gemini, you're still going to have an opportunity to seed some of those new moon intentions. You don't have to do it the day of the new moon. You can wait until you have better aspects with the moon. Just hot tip. So my thought on my thought on Monday is that, we're going to have fresh communication. The new moon's going to spark new beginnings, and it's really going to be deepened, I think, with some of the trines to Pluto, which will bring some intensity, but it is retrograde, so we'll be able to manage it. So on Monday, set intentions for learning or communication projects. That's my advice. Or if you have to plan any travel, maybe wait until after the new moon. And then as we get into what's going to be Tuesday, the 27th, that moon is still in Gemini and now it's growing. Okay. So now we're going to see that we can really kind of have liftoff with some of the intentions that we set. Now we're going to see the Mercury Pluto trine exact this day. So this is at a 3, wow, in Gemini, in a Gemini degree, trining Pluto in a Gemini degree, and it's connected to the South Node, which is at a 24, where we're uncovering details, information, news, insight that we didn't have before, and it's going to be about like us having the necessary, I think, kind of details to make better decisions when it comes to Virgo things, our jobs, our health, our productivity, our daily routines. And it's a very powerful day to go, I am changing something about the way I'm doing things. Pluto can be about detoxing, especially when it's like retrograde. I could see this as some people being like, I'm doing a social media detox, or I'm going to start walking regularly, or I'm going to be reading, X amount of pages per day, in bed every night. These are really, really good things to be considering doing because it's going to be a very powerful mental transit with Mercury trine at a 3. We're also going to see the moon coming into a sextile at some point, and it's going to be sextiling Mars in Leo later in the day, and it's also going to be sextiling Venus in Aries. So lots of air and fire stuff that's setting up, very different vibe now. We're going to see things move very quickly. So it looks like we're going to have the Mercury trine Pluto around mid-afternoon. So that's where the powerful communication is going to be kind of landing. Great time mid-afternoon on Tuesday for meetings or sending out newsletters or anything like that. You're going to get a lot of traction with that. And then the moon will sextile Mars in the early evening, and then it's going to come into a sextile with Venus, and that's going to be in the later evening. And I'm loving the aspects all day on Tuesday. There is really not much that I can complain about, other than the fact that Mercury is still behind the sun, so we might feel just a little burnt out. If you're a Gemini, early Gemini, sun, moon, or rising, let me know how you guys are doing with some of these transits. You might just feel like I have to put my phone on Do Not Disturb. But the vibe that I get for Tuesday is that it's very lively, very chatty. There's going to be lots of opportunity for passion, going into the evening hours, deep conversations, and also perhaps some creative or romantic sparks. I would recommend on Tuesday to engage in bold conversations with people, follow creative pursuits, and harness the day's energy, make the most of it because it's going to be a great communication day. Now we're going to be moving on to the 28th, which is going to be Wednesday. And when we wake up on Wednesday morning, the moon is still in Gemini. And something that you'll see, it's going to be early before most of us are waking up. The moon will actually very early in the morning around like 4 a.m. Central. It's going to square the north and the south node. So if you're in a different time zone, you might feel that is going to represent some kind of karmic turning point where we're having to implement more communication, curiosity, diversity, being more open-minded so we can kind of get out of the past and into the future where we are tapping into our destiny. So not only will the moon square the north and the south node, ruled by Mercury. So it's saying we got to become aware of something new that's being sprouted. But the moon is going to come into conjunction with Jupiter, which is the ruler of the north node. So I actually perceive this as like a pretty positive, optimistic, happy Wednesday. I don't think it's going to be your traditional kind of, boring hump day. So the mood starts off, I think, pretty positive early in the day. But be mindful if you're up early that the Gemini moon is going to square the nodes. And then when it comes into conjunction with Jupiter, you cannot make this stuff up. It's going to conjunct at 27 degrees, a Gemini degree. There's a reason why there's going to be a lot of Geminis making headlines. A lot of people, for good and bad reasons, that are just going to be like very visible right now. All of these Gemini degrees setting up with squares to Gemini and also with, Jupiter and Gemini is going to give some of these individuals out in the world just a lot more visibility for the things that they're thinking and the stuff that they're saying. And love it or hate it, depending on who it is, some of these squares are necessary to open up the conversation to see different perspectives and different ideas so we can get out of the past and into the future. And we can also learn how to kind of communicate on a much more, not just intellectual, but emotional level. Like there is an opportunity to have both of those things with these planets square the nodes. So on the 28th, we will also see the moon ingress into Cancer. So it'll leave the conjunction to Jupiter, which, more busy work, more writing, more calls, more emails, more running around. Like that's just going to feel like a lot basically until the moon gets into Cancer. So you might feel like you're running around all day getting stuff done early in the morning. And then the moon will move into its home sign around the early afternoon. And when that happens, we don't have a planet to look at because it's kind of at home here. Now, one of the tricky things about kind of the midday transits is once the moon gets into Cancer, it's immediately coming into a square with Saturn and Neptune in Aries. So it's going to represent kind of like, all right, I'm having to stay on top of what my goals and what my plans were, and maybe I need to make a pit stop at home, or I need to kind of check in with myself emotionally. Emotional kind of blockages can come up midday. And then with the moon square Neptune, we can also feel a little bit more sentimental, a little bit more empathic and sensitive as well. And all of this Aries stuff is kind of ruled by Mars. And Mars is still in pretty positive aspect to Venus. I think that this is just going to materialize as people having bigger emotions than usual. And they might cycle between going through periods of being a little bit more reserved and kind of holding back. And then boom, those fire trines are going to want to, create some problems, start some drama, do what they do best, and be very passionate. So we're going to see a lot of people quite passionate this week as those Mars-Venus trines continue. I think that Wednesday, in a nutshell, for me, is it feels expansive, but then as we get into the afternoon, it's going to be a lot more sensitive. And there's definitely some karmic reflections that are kind of coming up after the moon square the nodes, and also some karmic turning points for a lot of people, or maybe they felt like they were at a crossroads earlier in the morning. Cancer moon obviously brings nurturing, a lot of emotional depth, but also the potential for moodiness. So we might be kind of noticing that early in the afternoon. My advice is reflect obviously on Wednesday on your purpose, your path. I think the nodal squares say that, and you might find yourself maybe needing to take a nap, needing to focus on some home or some like domestic or family related things later in the day. So make time to do that, even though you may not feel totally thrilled about taking time out of your day to do that. The other thing I would say is just this is about really nurturing yourself and focusing on self-care to balance any sensitivity that's kind of coming up on Wednesday afternoon. So that moon is going to continue to keep moving through Cancer. And that's going to take us into the 29th, which is going to be Thursday. And the moon will still be in Cancer on Thursday. Nothing's really changing here, but this is where we are coming into what will be the moon trine the node, north node in Pisces, and sextile the south node in Virgo at the end of the day. That's really the only lunar transit that you're going to see. We will also see on Thursday that there will be the Mercury Cazimi. So basically we need to get Mercury in front of the sun. So it's going to connect first at an 8. It'll be exactly conjunct at a 9, and it looks like the Cazimi is going to be happening on the 29th going into the 30th. So it's going to be in the middle of the night. Unless you live in Australia or another part of the world, you guys are going to get it in the middle of the day. But knowing that this is going to happen overnight on the 29th going into the 30th, you guys might feel that it's setting up in the evening of the 29th on Thursday. I think that this is a day where we can feel a little bit more introspective with the moon in Cancer, but also I think that there is a lot of mental electricity that's kind of going on. Maybe there's going to be some news or some event that happens overnight that we don't find out about until the 30th. Watch your dreams. That can be really significant if it's happening overnight, or you wake up to an email or a note or a text message or, a voicemail and you're like, what? And you read the morning paper and there's something that kind of comes out that brings about some kind of profound clarity. And I think with the moon in Cancer coming into what will be like a trine overnight also with the north node is great for emotional alignment. Obviously, the Mercury Cazimi is a high, point for breakthroughs. So unless you're like a night owl and you're up writing at night, you're working on your blog or you're putting things together, hey, definitely use that energy if you want to be using it at that time. So overnight, we will also see the moon come into a square with Venus, but I don't really feel like many people are going to be up. But if you guys are, even when the Cazimi is happening, that moon square Venus leading into the morning is definitely not very friendly either, but many of us will be asleep. And then we're going to catch the moon trine, the north node, even going into the 30th. So this will now be Friday. More on Thursday, I would just say use the Cazimi maybe to journal. Like I would even like write down what you want clarity on before you go to bed. And that Cazimi might help you get some clarity through a dream. And you could do some like dream interpretation or some divination late at night. And it's really trying to incentivize you to learn, connect, speak, or launch some kind of intellectual project. So, you're going to see obviously inspiration can hit at any hour, right? So if you're just feeling like I got to stay up, I got to continue reading this book, or I got to keep journaling, or I got to write something, and you're working into the evening hours, so be it. So on Friday the 30th, we're going to wake up with the moon still in Cancer. It's coming out of a square with Venus, and we're still feeling the Cazimi. So if you were fast asleep on Thursday night, no worries. Get up a little bit early on Friday morning and take some time to kind of reflect. Definitely be keeping an eye on what's going on, like I said, with some of the news and some of the things that are going on, because this being at a 9 tied to Sagittarius and Jupiter's in the same sign does tell me that there is going to be some big news revolving around transportation of some kind, media as well. All right, so what else do we have going on Friday? We're going to have the moon coming into a square with Chiron, which is a bit of an ouch first thing in the morning. We're also going to see the moon leave Cancer and go into Leo. So we're still kind of feeling the effects of the Cazimi here, and then we start to lose it by about the afternoon. And then the moon goes into Leo in the early evening, right around 4 o'clock p.m. Central Time. When the moon is in Leo, different vibe, definitely Friday night vibes is kind of what I'm feeling, especially with the moon coming into a trine with Saturn and also with Neptune. People are serious about love, romance, dates, creative projects, hanging out and having fun. And the moon's also going to form a trine to Neptune and Aries as well. So I actually like Friday. I think outside of the opposition that we're going to see to Pluto, it's not a terrible day. And I think that there is some emotional intensity that can kind of come up, earlier when the moon was squaring Chiron and Venus in the day, and also when the moon opposes Pluto in the evening on Friday, that will produce some emotional intensity. But, it has healing potential with some of the aspects to Chiron, even though it's a hard aspect. I also think that this is going to be shifting into much more confident, bold, dramatic, dynamic kind of vibes with the moon in Leo. I really actually like Saturday and Sunday a little bit better because you're going to start seeing some conjunctions to Mars and some trines with Venus. So let me show you guys that. And just watch for Pluto's opposition, which can bring some tension or some drama between, friends and lovers and stuff like that. It's going to be smack dab 9 o'clock Central on Friday night. Especially because Leo deals with like casinos and bars and, like places where people are going and like, partaking in like entertainment. I think that the trine to Saturn can have some people being a little bit more cautious and staying out of like any drama. But the moon trine Neptune and the opposition of Pluto, we may see that there are some people that are drinking, drugging, partying, and there is definitely stuff going down. So watch for that on Friday night. Then we get into Saturday. So this is going to be the 31st of May. And I really, really like Saturday and Sunday, like a lot. I'm liking it for a number of reasons. One is, obviously while the moon is in Leo, we're looking at the sun, and we've got the sun conjunct Mercury. We just had that Cazimi. Maybe some of us are getting away for the weekend. We're going on a road trip. Maybe some of us are, busy hanging out with our siblings, going to block parties. Maybe we're going to be focusing on writing or putting some kind of something together that is creative that we're going to be sharing with other people. So it's really buzzing with, hey, let's get out, let's get about, let's kind of socialize. So that energy really lends into Saturday as well as Sunday. The only thing we're really going to see is that the sun will sextile the moon, which is great because it's the ruler. So this is now the first like positive aspect post the new moon in Gemini. So now we're starting to see the effects grow. So for example, if you were like, hey, I want to learn something, I want to write, I want to travel, I'm planning to go away this weekend. Now you can start having fun. Now you can start connecting, communicating, right? You can maybe have some opportunities to connect with other creatives, or maybe there's room for romance even. So Saturday is a great day. You'll see the moon sextile the sun and Mercury pretty much first thing in the morning. That's going to be hanging around until midday. And then we're also going to see that it's still amplifying some of the post-Cazimi clarity. So if you had some kind of epiphany or breakthrough in the 29th, now you can kind of start working with it. Great time to be still setting your new moon intentions, because the sun is sextile to the moon, so it can grow. And also this is after the Cazimi. So like myself personally, even though the new moon's going to be at the beginning of the week, I'm not setting any of my intentions until after the Cazimi. I will probably do it on the 31st. All right, so my advice for Saturday is just watch for this very kind of charismatic, expressive vibe that's kind of setting up. I think there's that lingering buzz for the Cazimi. It's fueling connection, creativity, romance, passion, having fun. Get out there, get in the sun. When the moon is in Leo, we want to go and we want to be where the warmth is. So in some parts of the world, at least here in the United States, we're getting ready here in the next month to come into like summertime. So you guys might start to feel like, wow, okay, the weather is changing. I can get out and I can be hanging out, playing outside with your kiddos. The moon is then going to keep moving, and you're not really going to see it make too many other aspects. It's getting close to Mars, so that does make me feel like even on Saturday night with moon conjunct Mars, people are feeling more passionate. They're feeling more intense. They want to have fun. They want to be a little frisky. Moon Mars in Leo is pretty frisky. And it's building into a trine with Venus. So I could definitely see a lot of opportunities for romance and connection. And that's going to blend into Sunday morning. So then we look at what's going on Sunday morning. And we wake up, especially if you're an early riser, moon conjunct Mars on Sunday, coming into a trine with Venus. That's pretty sexy, to be honest with you. I like whatever connections were made on Saturday night. It looks like it's still continuing into Sunday morning. And then we will see the moon come into trine with Venus, and that's going to be happening later in the morning. I love this weekend. If you guys can get away for the weekend, I love this weekend for doing that. The only thing that you're going to want to watch for is that the moon is going to trine Venus and Chiron, and Venus and Chiron are going to be conjunct midday on Sunday, and then the moon's going to start coming into a square with Uranus on Sunday night, okay? So there's a lot going on. So moon conjunct Mars, passionate, feisty, creative, playful. The trine to Venus is very sexy. It's very fun. It's very daring, adventurous. Venus conjuncts Chiron and Aries, which is going to be about healing personal wounds. Honestly, I have found that when Venus is conjuncting Chiron, it can be about healing something, because Venus is what we open up to, right? Like a flower, and then Chiron wants to heal. So it's interesting that we're going to see this, which is ruled by Mars, and Mars is trining it, and it's conjunct the moon, right? So it's kind of like sexual healing much. I mean, that's kind of like the vibes that it's giving, but there's definitely something going on there. Now, if you're not interested in that, maybe this could mean that you're like, hey, I want to paint, I want to dance, I want to create, I want to work with my inner child, I want to go and hang out with my kids, I want to, take them to a water park or something like that. You could do that on Sunday. It would be great to just go and have some fun in the sun. And you want to watch for the moon coming into a square with Uranus. That's the only real hang up that I see on Sunday, but that's going to be happening in the evening. So I'm once again Central Time, so right around 7 p.m. Central. That's going to be 8 p.m. Eastern. That's going to be 5 p.m. Pacific. There is a moon square Uranus, and I could see if some people are going out of town for the weekend, it's like, oh, we got to get back home. Like, we got to hurry up, or we're trying to head home before it gets too late, especially because it's out of 28. So that's going to be about home, emotion, family, that kind of stuff. And when the moon's conjunct Mars, we see people more creative, passionate, but we can also see people who are going to be hot-headed. We could see people who are having meltdowns, people who are throwing tantrums, especially if you have kids. And I think that the positive outweighs the negative, and the trine to Chiron and Venus means that we can kind of smooth some things over. So what do I think? Well, Sunday is fiery as all hell. It's also very romantic. There's lots of room for adventure with healing opportunities kind of baked into it. watch as you get into the early evening hours. We're going to see the Uranus squares with the moon is going to bring some surprises. And then the moon is going to shift into Virgo. And that's going to be happening later in the evening. So it is kind of prepping us for as we come into Monday, which will be the 2nd. We're going to be in a Virgo moon day. So it's going to be really about kind of getting organized and getting things in order. All right. Also, if you're up on Sunday night, look at this. It wasn't in my notes, but I'm just noticing this. Moon's at 0 degrees, Pluto's at 3, Saturn and Neptune is at 0 and 1. This is going to create a yod. And this is ruled by Mercury, and Mercury is conjunct the sun still. So communication. With Saturn and Neptune, there's a lot of like not being self-aware, overlooking things, feeling kind of lost, feeling confused, not, sticking to schedules or routines. And it's possible, especially if you have like a weekend where you're like, I went to my family's house, we went on a trip, we, went out of town, we decided to kind of cut loose. Monday is going to feel a little challenging with the moon going through Virgo, squaring all this Gemini of getting back into routine. Okay, so just know that if you guys have been drinking, partying, eating all the goodies and that stuff, Monday's going to be like, we might feel like we're in a bit of a slump. So may actually be beneficial, to be a little prepared and not feel like you're scrambling on Sunday to, pack the kids' lunches or go to the grocery store or like do whatever. Try to have some stuff ready for Monday so that way you don't feel so sluggish. All right. So with that being said, I'm going to take you guys through the 12 rising signs. I'm going to show you where the Mercury Cazimi is going to be taking place. I'm a Western astrologer. That's the kind of astrology that I like to practice. And I am not a Vedic astrologer. I get asked that all the time. I'm Western. To make the most of my predictions, I highly recommend listening to your rising sign. If you listen to your rising sign, I'm going to tell you exactly where the Mercury Cazimi is taking place, which house. This house is the area of your life where you have the aha moment or the opportunity to get some insight or to have some good luck. Obviously, Jupiter is in the same house. We had a new moon in the same house. If you guys want to set your, your intentions, you can do that anytime around the time of the new moon on Monday, or you can wait until the Cazimi when you have had that kind of breakthrough so you know what intentions you want to set. Choose your own adventure. This is happening at 9 degrees, 8 or 9 degrees. So I would say anything from 8 to 10 degrees of Gemini, sun, moon, rising, or personal planet. Pay close attention. Also, my Virgos and my Leos, pay attention. This will be impacting you guys as well. All right, so we're going to start with my Aries and Aries rising. What's up, guys? All right, so you have got the Sun Mercury Cazimi happening in your 3rd house, and Mercury deals with the 3rd house. It also deals with the 6th house of health, habits, pets, and routine, schedule, and work. And the Sun's connected to communication, creativity, romantic partners, and children. What is the 3rd house? Communication, learning, your local environment, your neighborhood, your siblings, your neighbors. It could also be about websites and blogs and media. It could be about a short distance trip, something like that. So tying it all together, if you're working on a creative project, it's like you going like, I have an epiphany or a breakthrough. It could mean that you're trying to stay on schedule to, launch something or finish writing something. Maybe you're going to be, learning something new, or you're trying to squeeze in a little bit like travel time this week. That's possible as well. Could also mean that there's like a brilliant idea or a conversation that sparks some kind of project or connection for you. And I would be watching like siblings or neighbors. They might be key. So what to watch for with the Cazimi is also there can be some mental scatter, and there can also be some conflicts in communication with close contacts, especially with like close relatives or with coworkers. So definitely be checking your spam mail, making sure you're not missing any emails or anything like that. Also, if like a phone goes missing, right, you might find it, or if there's some kind of gadget that goes missing, you might find it. And keep an eye on your vehicle as well. And I would say as a tip to work with this transit, pitch ideas or network boldly, and do so with confidence and curiosity, okay? I'm gonna give you guys a card. Obviously, we need some divination for Mercury Cazimi, right? So what does Aries need to know about this transit? Ooh, you guys got the World card. completing something, which is interesting because you just had a new moon there. But it could be that Jupiter's finishing kind of its transit through there and you've been learning more about something and now you're ready to be like, okay, I'm going to put it to use. So in general, this deals with completion, achievement, fulfillment, sense of belonging, wholeness, and harmony. But I think that this could be that you have a goal to complete something, or maybe you're, completing a study or a course. Maybe you're kind of completing a contract. Maybe you're finishing a website. All of those things can be kind of happening. And I would say it looks like it's very beneficial and you're very optimistic about whatever you're trying to kind of wrap up in terms of planning. Okay. Good luck, my Aries. Let me know how it goes. We've got Taurus and Taurus rising. What's up, Taurus? You're going to be experiencing the Mercury Cazimi and Gemini in your second house of resources, self-esteem, income, spending patterns, values, finances, all that fun stuff. So Mercury is connected to your money through the second house. It's also connected to your fifth house of creativity, children, as well as, I think, happiness, joy, creativity. And the sun deals specifically with home, family, emotions, and your private life. So second house is going to deal with possessions. I think it is possible for you, Taurus, that what's going to happen here is that there is some kind of connection to having more clarity on a financial matter. Maybe you have been trying to set in motion bringing in a second income. Maybe you've been trying to negotiate a raise. Maybe you've been thinking about selling, some kind of product, or there is some kind of side hustle or other way that you can make money. I think for a lot of you guys that if it's not clarifying money stuff, there is going to be a self-esteem shift that's going to lead to a deal or some sense of like reforming your worth. Now, what you want to watch for here is that there can be impulsive spending, okay? And so maybe that's tied to the South Node where it's like spending a lot of money on entertainment, going to the bar, splurging on a romantic partner for the kids. But I do think that this is not necessarily negative. I think that for you guys, so much of the new moon and the Cazimi is about reinvesting in yourself, believing in yourself, knowing your worth, really starting to kind of communicate what it is that you need and what it is that you want. And where maybe you've been undervaluing yourself. I think that's a possibility as well. So I would recommend for my Taurus and Taurus risings to really strategize your financial goals and affirm your value. And you can do that through journaling, right? Through communicating and just expressing what your needs are. All right, so let's take a look. What does Taurus need to know about this Cazimi taking place in their second house in Gemini? The card that I get is the Two of Coins, which is interesting because it's the second house and it's like, do I want to do this or do I want to do that? So it can mean that you're balancing your resources and being more focused on resourcefulness, adapting, flexibility, and maybe stretching your resources. So I think that for you, it's kind of like, do I want to, spend more? Do I want to save more? Obviously, Jupiter also is connected to your eighth house, and that can be about making money, investing money, saving money, putting money away. And honestly, I think that this is going to bring good news. It could also bring some kind of like important conversation with family about, home expenses, funding, resources, and something connected to real estate, which in turn, could actually be lucrative for you. Good luck, Taurus. All right, we've got Gemini and Gemini risings, the darlings of the week. What's up, Gemini? How you doing? I bet you love this transit. It's so powerful for you, not because it's necessarily because it's in your sign, but it's powerful because the sun does very well in the first house. It likes to be the center of attention. And obviously the sun is the ruler of your third house of communication and the mind. Gemini, dare I say, probably one of the biggest opportunities for communication for you in a very long time is going to be the next week. All right. So, and also the new moon does suggest you're building on this all really for the next 6 months, but there are some real big opportunities to get your moment in the sun and to be heard and to be seen. And I hope you guys use it. So it's happening in your first house. So that deals with your body, your appearance, your identity, your morning routine, how you connect with people. And Mercury isn't just dealing with your physical self, it's also dealing with your fourth house, which could be your family, your home, your emotions, the past, anything connected to the people you live with, your extended family even. So I'm kind of thinking that with this conjunction that's taking place, this on one hand is about redefining your identity or your voice. Maybe others noticing your brilliance. Maybe somebody is, seeing your Substack and it's getting a lot of traction. Maybe your social media is blowing up. Maybe this is a time where you're also recognizing and realizing what direction you want to go in with a writing project, a media project, planning a trip, buying a car, moving, right? Any of these kind of like third house things. And it might mean that you have a bright idea and you say, hey, I'm going to call my brother, I'm going to call my sister, or I'm going to call my best friend, and I'm going to communicate, or I'm going to set something up, or I'm going to plan something. So any type of communication, planning, and learning is really positive, and it's also going to stem from you. And, it also connects to the South Node on your fourth. So it can mean that you're planning, to get out of the house. You're planning to organize and get the family together. So something like that's going to be kind of popping up. Redefine your identity or your voice. Other people will notice you. Watch for overthinking, especially when it comes to your image, or maybe you just feel like you're just communicating so much that you're getting overwhelmed. There can be a lot of like seeking validation with the Mercury Sun conjunction in the first house, so watch for that. And my tip for you would be to update maybe your personal brand, maybe speak boldly to reflect your true self. Use this as a week of like all kinds of being active locally, being active with social media, and connecting with other people in groups, especially with some of the aspects to the 11th house. So if you are joining a professional association, network, or a group, or you're working with a team, you're going to have an opportunity to shine. All right, so what does Gemini need to know about this Cazimi taking place in their sign? The Empress. Certainly, okay, just to kind of play devil's advocate, for some of you guys, Jupiter in your first house and Mercury can be directly connected to changes coming in with your family. So does it mean it's a conversation you have with your mom, right? The Empress. Does it mean that this is about mothering responsibilities? Could it be for some of you guys pregnancy test? Yeah, it could be. But this is divine feminine, sensuality, fertility, nurturing, creativity, beauty, abundance, and nurturing. All right. But I think when it comes to like the self, this is going to be more about creativity and abundance. But certainly mother figures, grandmas, being a maternal figure can be a big piece of this. What are you growing? What are you working on, right? What are you nurturing? And I think that could also be yourself if it's happening in the first house. Good luck, Gemini. I definitely want to hear from you guys. What kind of breakthrough do you have this week? All right, we've got Cancer and Cancer rising. What's up, Cancer? My goodness, a lot of the breakthroughs you guys are going to have while you're sleeping, while you're meditating, when you have time alone. I've been hearing from a lot of Cancer risings, clients, as well as you guys in the comments section. I know, I understand. This is like the last wave of the isolation, of feeling super tired, super worn out. Remember I said you're in your cocoon phase. As we get into, June and July, you guys are going to turn into butterflies when Jupiter, the Sun, Mercury enter into your first house. So enjoy the quiet time while you guys have it. Rest and recuperate. But the Cazimi is taking place in the 12th, which is subconscious. It's about spirituality. It's about closure. Watch your dreams. I love Cazimis in the 12th house. I've had a couple of them over the last couple of years, and they always manifest as totally erratic sleep schedule, like waking up earlier or like being up in the middle of the night. In particular, I had found the last one that I had that went retrograde over my ascendant into my 12th house was just like I couldn't sleep. It was up at, like 1 a.m, and I got up and I, for the first time in a very long time, like read cards for myself and had specific questions and was like kind of doing a spread for like an hour and was like reading. And it was like, oh, I still love doing this. Wow. Okay. So realize how much I kind of take it for granted doing it for a living. My point is that those quiet moments that you have alone are going to be something that's going to give you some kind of insight. And Mercury is connected to the 12th house, so healing, foreign lands, private time, sleep. But it's also connected to your third house of reading, writing, learning. It can be about siblings. It can be about neighbors. So you might have noisy neighbors keeping you up, siblings calling you all hours of the night. Maybe you're feeling like my phone's driving me crazy. I need to get it out of the bedroom. Something like that can happen. And I think in the 12th house, this is going to be about dreams or introspection that will reveal profound insights or hidden truths for you. And it can be in a book, it can be in a dream, it can be in a meditation. So what to watch for? Well, there can be mental overwhelm. There can be escapism kind of tendencies that are coming up. You have to really take care of your mental health during this transit for a couple days. And I would say as a tip, I would be meditating or journaling to release old thought patterns, especially because it's tied to the South Node. So it kind of feels like it's like a mental declutter or detox. Maybe like put your phone on Do Not Disturb. Maybe go and, get rid of a bunch of text messages or a bunch of emails or do something so you feel like you can have some mental clarity so you're not being bombarded with like communication. Okay? Moon's going to be in your sign when this transit happens. So you're definitely feeling a little emotional. This is the card that jumped out while I was shuffling. So this is for you, Cancer. I got the 10 of Wands, which makes sense. It's like, I want to let it all go. So this is about burdens, responsibility, duty. There's been stress, obligation, feeling burnt out, and feeling like there's been some struggles. You deserve some private time, where you're not going to be disturbed. Put the phone away, turn the TV off, get rid of the tablet, put the laptop in the other room, like take some time to either be resting, being, in nature, going for a walk, doing some breathwork exercises, because something is completing, something is cycling out here, and it's meant to happen before we get into this next month where you're going to start brand new. So enjoy the quiet time while you have it. Don't feel bad about taking some downtime. Good luck. We've got Leo and Leo rising. What's up, Leo? You're going to be doing the Mercury Cazimi in the sign of Gemini in your natal 11th house. So great transit for you guys. Obviously, Gemini sextiles you, so it's going to be a friendly aspect. And the 11th house deals with friends, parties, groups, associations, networks, your audience. It could also be anything connected to your goals. Obviously, you're ruled by the sun, so it is going to kind of represent somebody bringing you an opportunity or some kind of goal fulfillment or some kind of connection maybe that you're making socially. Somebody adds you on a social media, kind of account. Maybe somebody invites you to a party or a group. They help make a connection for you. And Mercury is tied to your money, finances, and resources. I think with the South Node there, you could really use some of the support that can come from other people. I also think that the connection to the 11th house is really kind of saying like, people can help you. Like if you're a Leo or a Leo rising, recognition is a huge theme right now. And I think a lot of it's like if you're giving back in some way, like if you're doing something like I'm doing, let's say you guys have a social media channel. It doesn't matter what you do. I would be like, I'm accepting donations. Yes, if you guys like what I'm doing, yes, thank you. I'm taking donations. Or maybe you create a subscription of some kind or something where other people can help and support you. Because this is about money and resources or networks coming your way to support something that you're building or creating. Can be collaborations as well. So whether it's networking or group projects that come up through this, I think you're going to have some major breakthroughs. And you may have a friend that makes shares like a key idea or makes a connection. Just watch for kind of feeling a little scattered in group dynamics so that there's like too much stuff kind of going on socially or that your social schedule is kind of overwhelming. And I would say as a tip, you definitely want to collaborate or pitch big dreams to your community. It's like what you're sharing with an audience. Like you guys are my 11th house. So when I have transits in my 11th house, I focus more on what you guys are telling me or what you guys want to hear or what you guys have to say. Now I want you to go and do this. All right. Okay. So let's see what the cards say for you, my Leos and Leo risings. Is it possible you guys even maybe like reconnect with a friend you haven't seen in a while? That's possible. Or somebody kind of comes back in a group dynamic. The card that I get is the Judgment card. I like this card for you, especially in the 11th house. I think that, this card is about self-evaluation, awakening, renewal, purpose, reflection, and reckoning. But I feel like if something's meant to happen, it will with the Judgment card. So it can be saying that it's like a chance meeting, or if you're meant to kind of complete some kind of goal or get recognized for something, it's something that you have definitely earned. Okay, lots of love from those who are closest to you. Let me know how that goes, my Leos. We got Virgo and Virgo rising. What's up, Virgo? Boy, oh boy, you got a Mercury Cazimi in Gemini in your 10th house. Obviously, your Mercury. And this is colorful for Virgo risings because on one hand, it's a positive aspect. The Sun Mercury can represent some big announcement pertaining to your career, pertaining to your status even. Maybe you get recognized, you get, kind of moved up in your position. You become more of like a senior kind of position at work. But Gemini is 2. So it can mean also that, if somebody is leaving, you're coming in, or maybe you're considering leaving one fraction of your work because you're going to be shifting into a completely different profession. It is 10 signs away from you, so it's a Saturn aspect. So it's going to feel like it's requiring a lot of work. And the challenge here is that it's conjunct the sun, which is the ruler of your 12th house. So that tells me that something has to end or something has to set in order to bring the new thing in. So the career, the 10th house is your career. It is about your public life and your reputation. Something that's private can become hidden. Somebody stepping down, something's changing at the company, or you're telling your boss, hey, I quit, I'm starting my own thing, something like that. And I predict that there is a career breakthrough that's coming. And I do think that you guys are one of the signs that will get some kind of career recognition, public recognition. Your ideas can shine professionally in a very big way, especially if you're involved in writing, podcasting, blogging, teaching, anything connecting to data, information, analytics, the mind. And what I would watch for is, because the South Node is also connected to Mercury, this for you specifically is about you being a perfectionist. Virgo, I love you, okay? I wish I had some Virgo in my chart. It's my 12th house. But you being a perfectionist can potentially block you and get in the way, I think, of you guys being able to make bold moves professionally. Like, you're overthinking, oh my God, should I be quitting my job? Or should I be, making this career change? Or is this a good idea? And I would be like, do not overthink it. Now is the time. And ready or not, here comes Uranus next month anyway, coming into your 10th house, which is also foreshadowing you're about to have a pretty wild change at work. Whether your schedule changes, your office changes, you're working 2 jobs, you're working for yourself, something's going to happen. So it is saying that it is better to kind of get with the program and be like, yeah, I am going to do this. Even if it's a side hustle, you can keep your day job, but it may be that there's a side hustle that's emerging that may potentially give you some kind of freedom in the future. So let go of the perfectionism, pitch to bosses, share your expertise publicly, be confident. Don't be afraid to show other people just your charisma and your confidence and your creativity, because I think it may actually put you in a position where you're going to have a lot more say in things at work. Okay? I like that. I like that you guys can share some of your creative stuff. So let's see what the cards say for you, Virgo and Virgo rising. What do you guys need to know about this Mercury Cazimi? 2 of Swords. Man, it's like you and Taurus, huh? The earth signs, are you guys having a difficult time with the air transits maybe? So this is about feeling like you're at a stalemate, difficult choices, denial, being stuck in the middle, hidden information. That checks out. Hidden information. It's like, oh, no, I didn't know that about my boss, or I wasn't aware that this was happening. And that could happen. But I think that this is referencing that you're kind of like, oh my God, some things are happening in a professional sense, or some things are kind of changing. And now that you become aware of this and you get the information, now you can start to plan. Don't take too much time going back and forth. Remember the Sabian symbol. Take a chance. You don't have to be reckless, but take a chance, because if you do, and if you're able to pivot, it can actually be a great opportunity for you to kind of work your way into a new area of work. Let me know, Virgo, what happens? We've got Libra rising. What's up, Libra? You're going to be doing the Mercury Cazimi in Gemini in your natal 9th house. All right. So obviously, the 9th house is going to deal specifically with higher learning, travel, your belief system, education, legal matters, teaching, publishing. Could be about your in-laws too. And I actually think that, especially if you're an early degree Libra rising, I would say maybe 7 to 10 or 11 degrees, you guys will like this transit. It's going to trine your Libra placements. It's also kind of an aspect to Pluto. It's going to create a grand air trine. So actually, Libra, I like this for you. I think that the challenge here is that you have got Mercury, which is connected to the 12th house, which is hidden enemies, okay? It's also self-undoing tendencies. It's also connected to, maybe not wanting to, do things, or not wanting to follow through with things or complete tasks. What else? And then obviously, the connection to the 11th house. So it's possible that you become more aware of your goals, I think, through this transit. And you can have some kind of significant shift, or an epiphany that shifts your worldview. It could also be about opportunities for travel, study plans start to kind of crystallize and kind of come together. And what to watch for with this transit is, some dogmatic thinking can kind of come up with transits in the 9th house. And I think maybe where you're overly idealizing certain opportunities, or traveling to certain places, or working with certain teachers. new teachers, mentors, lawyers, all kinds of people can kind of pop up and they can kind of advise you or give you some kind of direction. If you've been wanting to plan a trip, you might have a breakthrough here. If you have been wanting to, go back to school, apply to colleges, this can be a turning point for some of that stuff coming up. And I would say, as a tip, study, teach, and plan a trip to expand your perspective. All right, so let's see. What do we need to tell Libra rising about the Mercury Cazimi in the 9th? Oh, you get the 3 of Cups. Okay, so friendship, community, gatherings, celebrations, social events, and group activities. I think that might be tied to like the sun, because the sun does talk about friends and other people. So are people coming to visit? Are they coming to kind of hang out with you? Are you going to be traveling and seeing someone? Are you going to be meeting with groups that have to do with education or learning? Looks like it's going to be a good time. I think it's going to be fun, or that there may be some unexpected travel that's going to involve socializing and getting together with other people that may appear. Okay? I love that for you, Libra. Let me know how it goes. All right, we've got Scorpio and Scorpio rising. You guys are going to be doing the Sun Mercury Cazimi in Gemini in your natal 8th house. Scorpio, this is a house that you're familiar with, but it's also in a sign that in conjuncts or quincunx is you. So some of the things that are coming, you're not going to see coming, or they may be a little bit more subtle. So obviously Mercury is connected to your 8th house of joint finances, shared resources, transformation, intimacy, death, and rebirth, taxes, anything connected also to investments. And then the 11th house is connected to friends, allies, other people, networks, and some of your goals. The sun deals with your career, your responsibility, and anything dealing with your professional life. So to me, it looks like the Cazimi is going to be an interesting one. And you may have to dig a little bit more to get some of the details in this particular transit. But I'm predicting like deep conversations about finances or intimacy kind of coming up, maybe bringing clarity on some kind of transformation. I would be watching for, obsessive thoughts or power struggles that pop up, especially in regards to changes with your status, changes with your career. A friend might tell you a secret, right? Or your partner might let the cat out of the bag about some kind of financial matter or something about spending money or resources in some capacity. There could be a breakthrough in a tax matter or an inheritance situation, or there could be an opportunity to have a payout on something. And you might be kind of getting wind that money is actually going to be coming your way. All right, especially if it has a group aspect to it. So if you're invested in like a company, or if you're invested in something with friends or with a partner, there could be an opportunity for something to pop up. Watch for the changes that might be kind of coming at work too. Be a strong transit for negotiation. I could see that as like a negotiation aspect. All right. Good for research as well. Discuss shared goals and dive into research or psychological things. Breakthrough with like a therapist this day could happen as well. All right, the card that I got for you is the King of Wands. All right, so there could be support coming from an Aries, Leo, or Sagittarius, but this could also mean that you're kind of tackling some of this 8th house stuff in a much more bold, dynamic, confident way. This is about leadership, your vision, the bigger picture, taking control, taking daring decisions, being bold, and being optimistic. Scorpio, the 8th house is never easy, but if anybody can handle it, I think it's you guys. And I think that whatever this sensitive or significant piece of information is, it's going to be life-changing, both for your career as well as for your finances. You guys will have to let me know what it is. All right, we got Sag and Sag rising. What's up, Sag? You're going to be doing the Sun Mercury Cazimi in Gemini, your opposite sign, in your natal 7th house. Sag, if you are a single Sagittarius rising, listen to me. This is a very good transit. This is a transit where you might meet someone. This is a transit where you might meet somebody while you're traveling. This is a transit where you could meet a new therapist. You could be meeting somebody connected to education or legality. You could meet someone at an airport. You could have a proposal. Something really significant is going to happen here. Or maybe this is where you make a decision about who you do want. I could see some of you guys planning weddings, some of you guys planning trips, Now, Mercury is connected to your relationships. It's also connected to your career. So when you have the Cazimi in the 7th, it basically means that, this is about relationships and partnerships. Now, 7th house could be your therapist. It can be your business partner. It can be your clients. Definitely a powerful time to start making announcements about services and things that you're selling or products that you're selling. But I think that this is really going to be about the conversations you're having with those who you're closest to in relationship. And if you're not in relationship, somebody who comes in. Gemini could be your siblings. Gemini could also be your neighbors. So these are going to be other people that are going to be kind of factoring into this. I predict that with Mercury's connection to the South Node, that there is going to be probably a wave of hearing from either partners from the past or people who you worked with in the past. Maybe there's opportunities to travel for work. Maybe there's opportunities to teach or educate in some way. There could be really interesting proposals or negotiations or contracts for business partnership on the table. A key conversation with a partner, romantic or business, will clarify your goals. And I would say what you want to watch for is that there can be miscommunications leading up to the Cazimi or overanalyzing, relationship dynamics. Have honest talks or negotiate agreements to strengthen partnerships, and knowing that Jupiter is in this house as well, and that at the tail end of Gemini season, you're actually going to see Mercury and Jupiter align right in the last degree. If you have not met anybody, the next month or so is going to be pivotal, right? You're going to have opportunities to meet people with the Mercury-Jupiter conjunction. You're also going to see that new moon over the next 6 months is going to build into relationship opportunities. And Uranus is about to enter into your 7th. So those of you guys who are in a relationship, you're going to start traveling a lot, or you might move with a partner, or you're going to end up meeting somebody on an app. I mean, it's going to get crazy. And that's sextiling Saturn and Neptune in your 5th house. So you're going to get serious about love and romance, I think. But yeah, you guys will have to let me know what happens here. All right, let's see what the cards say. Oops, that jumped out for Sag. In terms of the Mercury Cazimi, I get the 8 of Wands. Well, conversations, communications coming pretty quickly. This is about movement, speed, progress, quick decisions, sudden changes, and excitement in the relationship department. I think that some Sag risings might have a partner that's like, guess what? I booked a trip. We're going, because of the connection to the 9th house. Or it's like, this is what we're going to be doing. This is what I have planned. And I think that the 8 of Wands is also saying that if you've been questioning whether or not somebody you met, if it's actually going somewhere, you're going to see rapid development in the relationship department very quickly, having conversations and talking about where you're going. Okay. So enjoy that transit, Sag. All right. We've got Capricorn and Capricorn rising. You guys are going to be doing the Mercury Cazimi and Gemini in your natal 6th house. This isn't a sign that in conjuncts or quincunx is you, so you have to look a little bit harder for it. But I do think that you guys will see it. I think that having Mercury going through the 6th house is a pretty great transit, especially for work, health, habits, routine, getting things in order. And when you guys have the Cazimi, it's going to be bringing attention to your workspace, your job, your health, and it's tying in the sun, which is about changes and transformation, and also your 9th house ruler, which can be about organizing travel, organizing legal matters, scheduling things connected to education. The 6th house, the 8th house, and the 9th house all have legal connections as well. So like sometimes the 6th house is about settling out legal matters, or the 8th house is going to be about the give and take of financial agreements, and the 9th house is just legality. So if you're a Capricorn Sun, Moon, or Rising, if you're going through a legal matter over home, property, taxes, a payout of some kind, this could be a time where this is kind of manifesting for you. But on the other hand, this can also be about a new approach to work or wellness, maybe streamlining your tasks or pitching a new health plan. Joining a gym, working with a new doctor, getting health results, any of these things are possible. But I think that it's something that you need to know. And if you've been waiting to hear back about whether or not you got a job, this could also be a transit that gives you insight as to whether or not you're going to get the position. Obviously, Gemini in the 6th could mean health relating to your shoulders, your hands, your arms, your lungs, mental health stuff. And it can also be about a second potential job or change to your schedule. What you want to watch for is, overworking or micromanaging, especially because it's connected to the South Node. So it might mean that you're feeling like, okay, I've been, traveling a lot, or I've been going to school a lot, or I've been kind of buried in legal stuff or teaching. And like, now I really need to kind of buckle down and get clear about my schedule, or now I need to prioritize my health, or, kind of get back to work. So I do think that this is a good time to organize your routines and definitely communicate with coworkers efficiently. reorganize your office space. Maybe that can be something you can do, especially if you feel like you need it decluttered and, you need like a clear space so that way you can focus and you can get work done. All right, so let's see. What does Capricorn need to know about this particular transit of the Cazimi? And there's 7 of Swords. That's interesting. But, the 6th house is overcoming enemies, right? It's the opposite of the 12th. So this is a card that's about lies, trickery, schemes, strategy, resourcefulness, sneakiness, and people who are cunning. So if you're feeling like there is some sneakiness going on where, somebody's trying to scam you involving like a medical thing, or maybe there is some kind of challenge that's going on at work, or there's like an issue or, a problem with coworkers and communicating with people, like you're going to see through it. Like you're going to catch it. You're going to be like, that's not exactly what happened. Or, they're not necessarily, doing their part of the project, or, you'll be able to course correct some of the things because you'll see it, but you got to keep your eyes open. And I think maybe that's the connection also to Jupiter in your 12th. Jupiter is about enemies and it's in the 6th. So they're going to present themselves and you'll have the opportunity to confront them and be like, this isn't working, or this needs to be kind of corrected. Let me know what happens, Capricorn. I'd love to hear, but I'm pretty confident that with Jupiter there, you're going to be able to kind of spot it and deal with it head on. I wonder if there's like a change, if somebody at work gets fired or something happens. Not you, but if there's some kind of change at work, where if there's been a problem person that they're going to see their way out the door. All right, we've got Aquarius and Aquarius rising. What's up, Aquarius? You're doing the Mercury Cazimi and Gemini in your 5th house in a fellow sister air sign. So, 8, 9, 10, 11 degrees of Aquarius, sun, moon, or rising. You'll have a trine. I think you'll like it. 5th house is a great house. This is all about creativity, romance, passion projects, pleasure, children, anything to do with self-love, self-expression, having fun, being on stage, performing. So taking chances is the overall theme of the 5th house. And Mercury is obviously connected to this house, but it also has a direct connection to your 8th of joint finances, change, transformation, psychological stuff, or other people's money. 5th house, we take risks. 8th house, we see if they pay off financially or emotionally. So, this could be about anything connecting to, creative or romantic conversations that are maybe sparking joy. Obviously, the sun deals with partnerships. So this could be your relationship to a romantic partner, a spouse, a creative collaborator, even one of your kids. So definitely the 5th house is children, and then tying that into the 7th house Lord makes me feel like you're going to be having a conversation with your partner about children. If not, it's going to be about grown children. It could be that your kids are telling you, oh, I had like this big accomplishment, or it could be somebody telling you that they're pregnant. Equally, it could mean that there is some kind of unexpected conversation with a child. So maybe your kid takes their first steps. Maybe they speak their first word, right? This could be great for romance opportunities to kind of meet somebody in a casual setting, but it could actually turn out to be like a lot more devoted than maybe you thought at first. And I think that this could also be great for projects that really kind of take off, passion projects and hobbies. What you want to watch for is there could be a lot of scattered creative energy. Sometimes in the 5th house, it's seeking validation. So you might feel like, a romantic partner, a personal business, maybe a kid, they just need a lot of attention right now. And you're like trying to figure out how you can kind of balance that between you and another person, and how you guys can kind of take care of this thing together, be that a person or a business. And what else? Go places where you can play and create. That's my advice. Really strong for creative writing, really strong for anything that's going to be like media, blogs, anything that's going to be artistic or expressive. And I would say a tip for this is to create or express love boldly. Share your art or passion projects with other people. Maybe write somebody a love letter or a love note, or somebody might be giving you some insight as to how they feel about you. I like the aspects. I think that the sextiles that you're seeing to the 7th house and the trines to the ascendant is really wonderful. I think the only hang up is that the south node is kind of connected to Mercury. So there is a sense of needing to really be vulnerable and be willing to put yourself out there, and, be sharing with other people your thoughts on intimacy. All right, so let's take a look for Aquarius and Aquarius rising. What is coming up here? Oh, King of Wands again. So look for help from an Aries, Leo, or Sag. But to me, this is like a performer. This is somebody who is really creative and very bold and dynamic. It could mean that it is about, a male child if you have one, especially if they're a fire sign. And I think that this is also about kind of like really feeling like you're taking control, or you're willing to be more bold or take risks when it comes to creative expression, or, when it comes to having fun, or anything when it deals with like your love life. For those of you guys who are single, keep your eye out for that Aries, Leo, or Sagittarius, or somebody who might have some of these characteristics who might come in. The fifth house can be places like where there's live music, theaters, plays, entertainment, casinos, anything like that, where there may be opportunity to connect. And some of you guys who are willing to take risks, especially financially, whether that's through gambling or if that's going to be through investing, you might actually see something pay off. Good luck. And we've got Pisces and Pisces rising. What's up, Pisces? You're going to do the Sun, Mercury, Cazimi in your natal fourth house. And this is interesting because it's in a sign that squares you. Obviously, Mercury is connected to your home, but it's also connected to your relationships and your partners. And the fourth house is home, family, home, family, roots, property, and things connecting to the past. So on one hand, I think with the seventh house lord meeting with the sun in the fourth, and the sun's connected to schedule, health, and routine, it can mean that like you're working with another person to manage your home. Now that could mean to organize your home, to clean your home. That could mean that there is some kind of new insights that's coming up in regards to a home related project. Maybe your family's contacting you saying, hey, we need some help with something. Can you come help us? Can you be involved? Maybe there is some kind of change up that you're getting ready to do with a home. So you're putting the finishing touches on something you want to sell. Maybe you're working with a realtor to find a space because the sixth house lord, the sun, can represent the help. So I think that what's going to happen here for you guys is that there's clarity that's going to be coming up around a home or family matter. Could it be a conversation, with a loved one, maybe with a sibling, maybe you were looking at one house and you're thinking you're going to buy it, and then boom, something better kind of pops up on the market, or another opportunity to move to another place kind of presents itself. And you're going back and forth with either a partner or a family member about what's going to be the best option. You might find that you're hearing from somebody from the past because the fourth house is the past and Mercury is connected to the south node. Maybe you're reconnecting with family, so aunts, uncles, cousins, siblings. Maybe you're going back home after not seeing your family for a little while. But what you want to watch for is that pivotal conversation with a roommate, a family member, or a partner. There can be some emotional overwhelm and maybe feeling like you want to avoid having tough talks with said people. And I would say, discuss home plans, or maybe even journal about your emotions and what you need revolving around home and family to help you get some insights on this matter. Something I will tell you, Pisces, is that pretty soon you're going to have Uranus going into the fourth house. So you're going to have a total unexpected change going on either with the home or with the family anyway. So this is a chance to get ahead of it with the new moon in your fourth house, also with the Cazimi, where you're going to get some insight. And then you've got Jupiter that's finishing up its tour in your fourth house as well. So if you've already gone back home, if you've already done all of that, Uranus can mean that you're off to the next adventure or the next place, or that you're going to kind of be a little bit more nomadic. But I would say watch for this information pertaining to your home, because likely it's going to totally shake things up. So what does Pisces need to know about this Cazimi in their fourth? Eight of Coins. Interesting. I feel like it might be about working on family relationships, working through things. It could be about literal home, improvement projects. I mean, it could be that. Skill, talent, craftsmanship, quality, having high standards, expertise, mastering something, commitment, dedication, and accomplishment when it comes to home. So maybe something is coming to a completion, or maybe you're feeling like with the state of way things are in your home, or some project that you've had, or even your family, you're feeling like very accomplished. And maybe you get some feedback. Maybe somebody tells you like, wow, you've done a really good job, or we're really proud of you. And you're like, okay, I needed that, something that's making you feel like some of the work has been worthwhile. So I hope that that's helpful for you, Pisces. You guys will have to let me know how this Cazimi manifests for you. All right, guys. Well, that's all that I have for you for this week. Obviously, I hope that you guys enjoy this video. I hope it's helpful in planning the week ahead. Definitely make the most of this Cazimi energy. Make the most of the new moon. Get out there, communicate. I hope you guys are able to use this energy for better mental clarity and also releasing old patterns. I feel like this is so powerful, especially when it comes to setting intentions with communication or new kind of creative projects. So definitely use these opportunities that come up this week. Stay adaptable. Try to stay focused and curious as you go through all of these Gemini transits. Please don't forget to give me a thumbs up if you like this video. Don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe. Click the bell button if you guys want to be alerted as to when I have new videos. I'm here every Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, and Sunday trying to make sense of what's going on in the cosmos. And you guys, let me know in the comments below how this manifests for you, what your Cazimi moment is. I always love to hear these little stories of how Mercury kind of pops his head in our life and makes himself known. So until next time, I'll see all of you guys very soon, and I hope you guys enjoy the rest of your week. Take care.